Hello everybody and welcome to our meeting today between SeeTec and Vanderbilt. We're going to be looking at the SeeTec Cayuga and SPC and how they can operate together to provide you with a secure interface and powerful system for your customers. So today I'm joined by Christian Dragon from SeeTec, and he's going to be giving us an introduction to SeeTec Cayuga. Hello Christian.
Hello John. My name is Christian Dragon. I'm responsible for strategic alliances at SeeTec, and I'm proud to present you today in few words the interface, the SPC interface to SeeTec Cayuga, which is available since the last 3 releases at least, and which contains a lot of interesting functionalities. Now, let me introduce for the beginning SeeTec and what is exactly what we are doing and how our strategy in few words looks like. So mainly the idea behind our work is to give our customers the opportunity to look at their entire business from another perspective, to find added values that come out of the security and business process surveillance, and also to consider ethical principles and data protection using modern technology, state-of-the-art technology for deploying our solutions in the software area. Now, who is SeeTec? We are looking at more at 20 years of experience in video surveillance. We're a global provider of video management solutions with our headquarters in Germany, city called Bruchsal. And we are looking back on around about 35,000 installations worldwide, with an entire capacity of around about 160 employees, being present in more than 100 countries around the globe. Now, of course, you see at the top of the presentation SeeTec and ONSSI, and some of you might ask why that. It's because SeeTec and ONSSI merged around about 2 years ago, and therefore we are looking now at an entire team covering almost all of continents worldwide. Who is SeeTec, or who are the main faces at SeeTec? We have on one hand our managing director from the commercial side, Mr. Andrea Beerbaum, who is responsible mainly for sales, marketing, and product management, and who's also looking at more at 20 years of experience in the security area, being employed at Verint, at Siemens, Funkwerk. And besides Mr. Beerbaum, we have Mr. Stefan Rasp, who is responsible for administration and technology, who's also coming out of the software area and who's also looking at around about more than 30 years of experience, having also contact to different industries where different solutions were placed. Now, why is SeeTec a global player, and what is SeeTec doing in a special way that makes it relevant on the market, or that makes it a global player? It's on one hand the technology, which is based on a modular platform, allowing different tailor-made solutions, which allow each customer to pick up different modules and put them together to the solution that they need. And by that, there is a lot of potential and changing perspective from the security aspect changing to business process oriented aspects. Furthermore, there is a lot of know-how that we are looking back to, coming out of the pure security area, being in touch also with a lot of hardware manufacturers, a lot of system manufacturers like software, access control, and so on, makes, of course, creates, of course, waste base of knowledges and waste base of know-how in regarding how to handle big projects, how to understand business environments, and so on. And nevertheless, and last but not least, the people make always the difference, because mainly you don't really buy a product, you buy the people, you buy that what you see in front of you. It's the way how we make business, it's the way how we behave in front of our customers, and it is our team spirit that makes us special. So our core competences, or as already mentioned, coming out of the security area, which is further on, we're providing here our video management software containing a lot of solutions, a lot of interfaces, a lot of modules, video analytics, and so on. But we have also a second base that is sustaining the entire construct. That's the business video intelligence area, which is basically combining our video management solution coming from the security area with business process data coming out of the logistics, for example, or transportation, finance, out of the industrial areas, and so on. And by that, the entire construct, Cayuga plus business video intelligence, gives us the opportunity to be present in almost every sector, economy sector on the market. What makes the software flexible is the architecture and the way the software is built. So we are following a modular concept, having Cayuga as a core element in the entire construct, and we are building up the system according to the needs of the customer. We are building up the system with the different other modules, like the BVI, Business Video Intelligence module, like video analytics, or different interfaces. Also, to mention, or the different access options that make the product interesting, like web access or mobile access, and so on. And by that, using this kind of architecture, the entire system becomes flexible. It becomes modular, constructible, and it gives each client or each customer the possibility to find his own solution in the entire amount of, let's call them, products. The SeeTec architecture that you can see here is based on a server client architecture. That means we have on one hand the core services that are installed in each location, like location 1 with different core services like device manager, which is taking care of recording cameras, and core services that are taking care of the administrative tasks in the entire system that could be installed in a second location, like location 2. By that being connected with each other, the entire system, it's easy accessible by, for example, an access and a mobile client, or by a normal native client like this one here, or even by a SeeTec anywhere client, which is basically the same client like this one here, but it doesn't need to be installed on the machine. It can be started from a USB stick or from a DVD or from a shared folder. By that, the entire system can be splitted over different locations, each location containing different entities, but in the end, using a corresponding infrastructure, the entire system makes one big solution that gives the customer the possibility to recognize himself and to solve his needs and his issues. Now, coming back to the idea of multi-solution platform and of modular construction of the system, what is the SeeTec Cayuga system offering in the end? There are few component groups that you can see here. On one hand, you have the core services and the main devices that make the core element being a relevant entity like cameras or network IOs or digital contacts and so on, with the different access options using tablets, smartphones, and so on, with video analysis components like license plate recognition or people counting or perimeter defense and so on. But also the process integration, which is covered by that BVI, Business Video Intelligence module, that helps us acting in different branches, in different areas. And nevertheless, very important in the entire construct, and this is the main group that we will touch today in this small presentation, or the interfaces to different third-party applications. And one of those third-party applications that we will have a look at today is the SPC, so the Cayuga and SPC interface, which is used as a for the intrusion detection and CCTV in one application. This is the main purpose. What makes the interface interesting for the user is very easy handling for the guards, for the handling of zones and areas, a very detailed setup and configuration possibility, but also a very easy and fast upgrade to new software releases. We are, of course, considering from release to release the interfaces that exist already. They are updated from release to release, and using the auto updater application that we provide with our installer, the interfaces can be upgraded or could be upgraded automatically without needing to touch the interface. The typical use cases where this Cayuga SPC interface is interesting. It's the or use cases like show the armed, unarmed area in the map, disarm and arm areas or zones, open cameras that you directly in the Cayuga client in case an SPC event has occurred. Of course, start recording by using the triggers coming from the SPC Central as a alarm scenario trigger. The alarm scenarios in SeeTec are mainly the actions that the system performs as a reaction on an external trigger, but also arming area by using physical buttons, like for example I/O modules from an Adam module or from a Vago 750 series, which is also implemented in Cayuga and can be used as a physical contact. Now, having a look at some generals regarding the entire interface and the available features in within this interface, we need to mention that the SPC events, or in the first instance, used, so this is the basic of the entire interface, having the SPC events used as trigger for alarm scenarios in Cayuga. The handling of the SPC system out of the map by having a look at the status of the different entities of SPC in the map by clicking on those entities like areas and zones directly in the map is a second aspect of the entire interface, and that makes the entire interface easy to handle for the end user. The special user rights in Cayuga are also related to this interface, so there are also possibilities to give some users the right to handle with symbols on the map or with the SPC entity, which makes also in the end the interface very easy to handle, the entire construct very easy to handle, and because the interface is based on the EDP protocol, there is, for example, no need to have OBC. So you just add an SPC device as you add a camera in Cayuga. It's that simple, but we will have a look at it in a few minutes in the live demo. So here you see, for example, few screenshots from SPC and Cayuga. So you see here, for example, the symbols on the map, the symbols for the zones that you can click on and perform different actions. But similar to that, you can also click on the area symbol and perform dedicated actions. To each symbol on the map, you see the status, the current status. And in the configuration, you are able to see what are the triggers that were set as an alarm trigger in Cayuga. What is, from the commercial aspect, very interesting in this context is the fact that for this interface, from our perspective, there is no license needed. So the Cayuga SPC interface, it's always included in all packages, and the only thing that is needed on the SPC side, of course, is the ADP interface. But as we will learn later on in our discussion, there are also concrete plans to have the new interface of SPC, the Flex-E interface, implemented in Cayuga, which will be the plan that needs to be realized within the next 12 months. Now just a short overview, and coming back to the end of my presentation, a short overview about our references, where we have different system combinations with different modules that are used. You can see here customers coming out of almost every sector of the economy. Besides our customers, I guess there's also interesting for you, John, and for your colleagues to know who are the contact persons in Europe for the direct SeeTec project planning and commercial discussions. Here you have an overview of all my colleagues. Philippe Quidoyan, who's the responsible commercial guy in Spain, is pretty new. He's 1 month almost at SeeTec, so therefore it's pretty hard to get a picture from Spain to Germany. That's why we're still waiting for Felipe to come here and to take a picture of him in order to have this list completed. So I would say we go now directly to the SPC Cayuga interface, and as you can see here, I switched to the demo system that I have prepared here, where you see the Cayuga client interface with the different SPC symbols placed on the map. You see here the surveillance mode. That means this is the mode that is basically used from almost all the users.
So if I opened up the system first time, this is the view I'd see.
If you open up my system for the first time, this will be the first mask. This will be the first GUI interface that you see. Exactly. So the system will open up with the surveillance mode, of course. What you didn't see here is the authentication mask, the authentication dialog. So if you click on the SeeTec symbol, you will have an authentication request. That means username, password, and of course the IP address or the server name of the Cayuga hardware, where the Cayuga services, core services are installed. But this is, I guess, not so relevant now in the presentation, because it's something that almost each system is able to do and needs to do when it's about security. So I'm speaking from a kind of self-understanding functionality. Now, if you open up the system, this is what you will mainly see for the first time. This is the surveillance mode, and the surveillance mode will open up with the layouts or with the cameras that you have as user, for example, dedicated to see always when you start up the system, and you're not allowed, for example, to close. Now here I'm registered as an administrator. I can close this layout. A normal user that is not allowed to close this layout, because he always needs to see what's happening on the entire area, he will always see this layout here. As soon as he's registered, logged in, he will see directly this area, and he's not able to click it away. Yeah. So I took myself also the right, as you can see here, to click it away, and I'm not able to close this window.
Understood. So in terms of that overview, what I see on the map now is 5 different cameras. I have the garden is armed, the main house is armed, so there are different areas. And I seem to have 2 icons showing me the zones. But that icon at the front door, what is that? That seems a little different.
Well, this icon at the front door, this is not an icon belonging to the SeeTec SPC interface, but this is an icon belonging to the CPAS integrated interface.
Oh,
so
okay.
this is the special dedicated CPAS interface to Cayuga, which also allows to handle the CPAS integrated system out of the map, also by clicking on the different symbols with the options of allowing access once, or locking the access points, unlocking the access points. Similar behaves with the SPC. Also, by a simple click on the symbol, you have a dialog opening with now unset the status of this area, or set the status of this area, or set it forced. And what is also interesting here is when there is an alarm occurring in the system, you see here the zone symbol blinking, And you're able now, by using this area symbol, and the area symbol, it's some kind of group symbol, because you are able in SeeTec to group the different zones, similar how you do it in SPC, to group the different zones and to define a corresponding area that is responsible for this zones. So now I will reset the alarms, and as soon as I do that, the symbol is coming back to the initial state. Similar is behaving with the zone symbol directly. So I'm able, by clicking on reset alarms of that zone, I'm able to reset all the alarms in this in the zones dedicated or declared as belonging to this zone here. But I'm also able to reset the alarms globally, not only for this zone. I'm also resetting them if the configuration is done the right way. On SPC side and on SeeTec side, I'm able to reset it globally. So now we will see the possibility of resetting the other zone, for example. You see here also different additional actions like inhibit the zone, isolate the zone, de-isolate the zone, which is of course coming after I have isolated it or inhibited it. So you have the possibility to do that in both ways. Now this is regarding the handling of the symbols in the map. The trigger that that caused that blinking of the symbols on the map was not declared as an alarm scenario trigger, which is now part of my configuration that I need to do. So on one hand, if I have a look at the SPC interface, that doesn't need any DLLs, any plugins or whatever. I'm just going in the configuration menu of the SeeTec system. I'm choosing the menu point other hardware, and here I see already SPC, or I'm able to create a new object that will be called SPC. So in this case, I could create now a second interface to the same SPC server. It doesn't really make sense to do that now on the same system, but it's just to mention and to point out how easy it is to create the interface. So I'm selecting the third-party interfaces, and here I have a drop-down menu giving me different options, and one of the options is the SeeTec SPC. So now I'm only now I'm able to create another interface, another hardware, which is basically the interface to the SPC server by hitting OK. But as I told you, it doesn't make sense to do that on the second on the same server. So now I have the hardware pre-configured. I see here the different details like connection. How is the SPC connected to SeeTec? It's using the device manager installed on the core server. That means the images that will be in the end connected, the camera images connected or relied to the alarm scenarios that I can define using the trigger from SPC. They will use the device manager images from the core server, and for the interface itself, it's a core service needed because we need the versatile application module. So this is pretty deep knowledge regarding SeeTec entities. I won't go that deep in those details. It's just for you to know that the device manager on the machine where the SPC server is installed is the one that needs to be selected here. All right. So we have the dedicated port on which the communication takes place. We have the different areas that are activated in SPC. We have the main building that we saw on the map before. We have the area garden that we saw on the map, and now we have here something new. That's the SPC A210 that I've connected to my demo system, which is part of the extension of this SPC interface. And as you know, this SPC 210 is a kind of is a small access control system that can be connected to the SPC central. So for the moment, the entire interface in the status that you see here doesn't contain the usage of the triggers coming from the access control module. But it's part of the plans for the next 2 releases, which means within the next 12 months we will have this extension too. So, third party of the entire configuration area is the definition of the triggers. Of course, with the corresponding zone where the trigger is coming from, because the zone that you define on the SPC side is in the end, each zone is seen by SeeTec in the end as a dedicated trigger. We had a few time ago the discussion regarding grouping different zones by their nature. So let's say there are zones with an alarm, pure alarm nature. There are zones with pure evacuation, for example, or panic nature. So this is possible even now. That would mean that for each SPC zone you will have a dedicated nature. That means the SPC zone 1 is a burglar alarm zone. That means it is an alarm zone. It can be defined as an alarm zone. And the SPC zone, for example, is the panic zone. As you can see it here, you see both of them on the same map, as you saw before as I've started the live demo. Now, having the possibility to group and to display on the same map only alarm zones, and on a dedicated alarm or on a dedicated layer only panic alarm zones, this is not a big issue. We can solve it pretty easy by creating icons on each map, and the icons that we've created are leading from one map to another. So each of the maps can... Yes, please.
So if I was a customer, to say it another way, depending on the nature of the alarm, I can have completely different views and interact with the data in a completely different way if it's a medical, a panic, or a burglary alarm.
Exactly. So I'm now coming back to the live view because this is the easier way to point that out. So I'm able in SeeTec to create different icons or to place different icons on the map. Now I'm able in SeeTec also to create not only camera icons on this map, but also other map icons. That means in this map here, when we go into configuration, which we could do, and have a look at this map here, at this overview map, so This is, for example, one of the maps. This is the one we need. So if we have a look at this map, I also have, for example, another one in the list of possible icons that I can place on this map. And this is, for example, a test CPAS map. So now I placed in this map another icon relied to another map. And I can see it immediately in the live view. So now clicking on this symbol, I switch to the other map, which could contain different other symbols. So handling different natures of zones. Let's say in this map, we could have alarm zones. I click on the symbol with the same map, and on the same layer, appearing and being defined as a different map, like panic map, with the same content, in the end with the same cameras, with the same view. I can have on the second map only panic dedicated zones, which are placed basically nearby each other, because alarm sensors, zones in this case, and panic sensors or zones in this case, or sensors that are pretty much located nearby each other in the real life. So by that, I'm able to handle with the same map on two different ways by switching from one to the other using a simple symbol in each map.
And is there any limitation on the number of maps or icons you can have?
Not that I know.
Okay.
So there was no client till yet that complained about not enough maps having in SeeTec. No, there is no limitation, John.
Okay, good to know.
There is no limitation on the amount of icons that you place on the map. There is no limitation on the amount of maps that you're able to create in SeeTec. Of course, the amount of icons in the map is reduced by what you will see in the end if you do this here.
Oh yes, I understand what you're saying. It just becomes useless information. Yeah. Yeah.
So you can place in the map so much symbols as you want, as long as you can cope with all those symbols and you can still handle the system. There are no limits.
Yeah. Understood. Yeah, that's very clear. Okay.
So now coming back, of course, to the configuration, there is also another additional point that we didn't point it. So now another point in the configuration which is also relevant, because you see here on the right side of the Cayuga GUI, you see here different buttons with different names. What is also important to know is, of course, that in the configuration of the SPC interface, we are able to handle also with the outputs in SPC. So you have here a dedicated area for the outputs where you can enable the different outputs performing the configured or pre-configured action in the SPC, like opening a door or disabling something or whatever that might be. So those outputs can be handled by soft buttons that we can create in Cayuga, similar as you saw the other buttons. Therefore, we need to go on the menu option buttons, and similar to the other configuration opportunities as before, we can create a new button like SPC output 1, and we can find this in the configuration of the button, the action that it needs to be performed. under menu point perform action, you're able to select now the entity that is triggered behind with this button. So I have here my SPC central with close output 1, for example, or open output 1. I'm only able to select one single action, of course, otherwise it wouldn't make that much sense, but I'm able to create that much buttons as I want to, and there are no limits in the amount of buttons that the user or the system administrator is able to configure. Now, by now, I have this button configured, and I'll be able to see it in the live view in the button list. So,
just a
the
question.
only thing, yes.
One thing I'd like to see is how, when an alarm happens, how do I perform different actions based on an action from, say, not an action from someone observing the system, but an alarm happens or a door opens or a zone opens. Can I make the system react and show me different information based on that?
Of course. This was pretty much the last point in my presentation, but it's not a less important point just because it's the last one. Now we are able in the option menu alarms in the configuration of Cayuga to create a new alarm like SPC test zone alarm, where I'm able now to define a priority of the alarm. Highest priority means this alarm needs to be confirmed. So the last 3 levels of the priority level of the priority scale need or require a confirmation by the user. I am able to define, for example, the color of this alarm in the timeline of the camera, and now I define the trigger that will start this alarm, and the trigger will be chosen among the entire trigger options or possibilities that we have coming from the SPC interface. Now we see, for example, SPC zone 1. I can use this one as a trigger, or I can define a second trigger which makes the system reacting on one or on the other trigger, like SPC zone 2. And now I have 2 triggers that will start an alarm within this alarm scenario. The server duration, that means the time how long it will be recorded, so let's say 15 seconds. The visualization, it should be the only camera that I am using here in the system. The persons involved in this alarm scenario need to be defined, so there's only the persons that you define here in the alarm scenario. They will see the alarm scenario. They are able, only those persons will be able to see this alarm scenario and to look for it. All the other users won't see that. They don't have access to this alarm scenario. Now we have a pre-alarm duration. Could be interesting in order to see what happened before the trigger came. So let's see, let's say 5 seconds. And you can also configure many other notification options, like for example email and FTP. That means you can send an email to someone containing the alarm image, a single image with a dedicated text that you can notify here in those fields. You have here the field message where you can type in whatever you may want to. Or you're able to upload on the FTP server that single image of the alarm moment. So in this case, I have nothing configured here showing you how it works, but it will take, I guess, too long. So let's save the alarm scenario, and now I have this alarm scenario here that will show me the cameras as soon as the zones will be violated. Therefore, I will simulate a violation of the SPC zones. And now you have the alarm scenario popping up with the confirmation that is needed, because I chosen a high priority of the alarm scenario. That means the user needs to confirm, reject, or defer the alarm scenario, but he's also able to put in a comment. And anyhow, he is forced to choose one of those options. You see in the background the pre-alarm of this alarm scenario. You see the after alarm of this alarm scenario. This is the alarm image, and this is the live image. So I guess this is a matter of communication. Do you see the loops on those windows? Anyhow, the pre-alarm, it's a loop. The alarm after alarm loop, it's also a continuous sequence, and the alarm image is a single image. So now I confirm this alarm scenario because I've chosen two triggers in this alarm scenario. I have, of course, the reaction on both as an OR connection. So my colleague just violated both zones, but not at the same time. Would they have been violated at the same time, that would have been one single trigger. But because there was a delay between the violation of the first zone to the second zone, there were two alarm scenarios popping in. So I confirm both of them, and I reset the status of the zones in the map. And by that, I guess I covered a big part of this interface, and I hope this was an interesting overview on the possibilities that are given with the SPC interface in Cayuga.
Thank you, Christian. Very interesting. And if someone wants more information, because I know you have a lot more videos and information on the entire system, what's the best place to find it, or where should they go?
There are a lot of information on our homepage that you find for free. There are also a lot of information that you don't find for free, but that doesn't mean that someone needs to pay for that. The only thing that is needed is to have the access data, so name, last name, company name, and so on, and we provide to every one of you a access data set for the partner login area. No one needs to pay for that, so it was just a joke in the beginning. In the partner login area, you will find a lot of information material regarding technicals, regarding commercials, regarding interfaces, and also regarding tools, planning tools that are very helpful in setting up or putting up a project, putting up a system from the perspective of hardware needed, for example, or from the perspective of network required, or client PCs, and so on. So there are a lot of helpful tools, a lot of helpful documents in the partner login area, and everyone who's interested in having a closer look at that is welcome to contact me. Now, I guess in my presentation, I should give you, in a way, also my email address. Now you can see also my email address.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if it's a
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
so just give me per email a request, and I will take care that you receive access data, the access login data to our partner area, and then it's up to you you can have fun with a lot of documents. And if there is something that you don't find there, and you might think that should be somewhere, then just give me an email, send me an email, and I will provide you everything you need.
That's a great question. I'm sure people would appreciate that. So, Pavan Vanderbilt, thanks for taking the time today to showcase SeeTec Cayuga, and hope people watching today have found it interesting and informative, and hopefully it'll provide a solution for them in the future.
John, it was a pleasure to present you this small overview, and I hope we see each other next time presenting the SPC interface with the Flexi protocol.
Brilliant. Thank you, Christian. Thank you very much for your time. Goodbye.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.